Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chapter 6 Advanced Web Analytics and Web Intelligence. So, this chapter, we are going to look at web analytics stakeholders. We looked at basic web analytics last time, but now we're going to look at basic and advanced segmentation and web analytics, and then what some goal setting and conversions might look like when you're looking at more advanced web analytics. Okay, so the first thing you need to think about is the external ecosystem. This is kind of like the data providers, social network bloggers, artificial intelligence, which would be like home and cars talking to each other, frameworks, the cloud, basically anything that you can think of that's really big involves the external ecosystem. And then you dive down a little bit further, which is the extended ecosystem. This consists of executive sponsored data owners, operational data stores, subject matter experts, web analytics, all the analysts that you can think of. And then you go even further, which would be the core ecosystem. Now, this consists of the chief analytics officers or a CAO, discovery and advanced analytic tools, analytic architects, data scientists. These are the people that probably get paid quite a bit of money, and it involves a lot more core centered around the organization. So we talked about all of this in chapter 5, but stakeholders are important because without them, there is no reporting or analytics. A little bit more data stakeholders, they need all of this information. We're not going to go down through this whole pyramid, but you do need to know this pyramid. If I were to ask you a question about it, like for instance, first party anonymous digital would probably be just web analytics and site traffic. And companies can leverage all of this information based on the job and the role that the analyst is performing, and then look at the data and report back based on what it needs. If you can see right here, this is like third party anon, which it would be like market research. This is extremely detailed stakeholder information. The data marketers often need they don't have to really include like what's within web analytics. So multi-channel campaign management, this is something that they should report, which is omni-channel analytics that requires proper JavaScript tagging with all digital assets. Web analytics reporting systems support this scheme, but it would be set up beforehand and then regularly maintained. Marketing automation, this is usually handled by third-party platform services rather than web analytics platforms. But web analytics reports information for consumer targeting, digital advertising, email marketing, which is then configured to track these activities. Customer scoring is not usually in web analytics platforms, although the content is scored. So you have to really think about that. Web analytics is not scoring individual customers, but it is going to score your content based on how customers are perceiving it. And then mobile optimization. This is when web analytics platforms possess a wealth of data originating from mobile devices of visitors to be tracked on a website. Now, mobile devices is not just a cell phone, it's also a tablet. Tablets are beginning to take a huge jump when we see web analytics. A lot of older people are enjoying tablets like an iPad. Because it has a bigger screen, it's able to do more things than a phone, and it's easier to shop online. Usually they have a faster processor, so tablets are seeing an increase. So when you think of a mobile device, don't just assume a cell phone. Multi-channel attribution. Some Google Analytics is able to track the most frequently used paths that are led to conversions on a website, and tracked by Google Analytics, which has provided all the necessary tracking codes and properly implemented in place beforehand. We have seen this throughout some of the videos that I have posted already from previous chapters. Pathing analysis in Adobe Analytics. So Adobe Analytics has what's called the direct path, and this is used to optimize the visitor flow on a website. So for instance, if a visitor is dropping or leaving a web page before purchasing anything, the organization can track those pages that occurs on the most frequently, and then decide, okay, is there like a conversion issue? Is there like a tag issue? Is the web page not performing correctly? What's going on? And then they also can do what's called a point-to-point. This is used when businesses are more interested in knowing if customers reach the endpoint. So if a user purchases an item, that's really all that matters. So pathing analysis. Remember direct path and point-to-path. Again, we're not going to go through this, but please take a look at it when you get a second. This is the web analytics ecosystem examined at a really high level. Here's a closer up version of it. So it's going through phases, and this says that it could take up to 3 years to develop just the first 3 phases. Now think about that. There's 15. These are the first 3, and it could take up to 3 years. So capturing data, putting it into tools to identify the first set of metrics. This is a quick little time frame. It takes about 6 months. And then the second phase would be reporting data. So this may go into reports generated, but not much business value from it yet. This is 7 months to a year. So you're getting this data, but it's not really important because it's not really enough data to predict what you're doing. And then you look at data insights, which is phase 3. This is generating actionable reporting that moves organizations forward. So this takes about 1 to 3 years because you actually have enough data to prove how customers are reacting based on the website and web pages. Analytic implementations that follow predictable steps overlapping with big data projects. So the first phase of web analytics was to recognize and identify and define the opportunity for big data analytics. So this is define the opportunity. Phase 2, set realistic expectations, setting expectations for data analytics and scope the project of cost benefits. Phase 3, acquire and manage. So acquire and manage the analytic resources, including hardware, software, and personal information. Phase 4, develop and assess. Build an analytics capability and reporting, and then access the quality of output, and then move into the production stage. Once analytics is fully tested, roll it out gradually into the intended production environment. So web analytics is usually a small part of the overall data implementation. This is like the huge, big, like how to combine web analytics with big data. The main use for cases on web analytics for user experience. When you see this, think of customer experience or user experience, web usability and design. So the first thing is the purpose of the business exists is to fulfill. So what goals are being fulfilled, what goals are not being fulfilled. That seems very obvious. You would be amazed how many businesses would neglect that. Phase 2, once you figure out what goals are not being fulfilled or are being fulfilled, what's the purpose of the website being measured to exist and to fulfill? So it aligns with the goals above, or it does not align with the goals above, right? So maybe your goals are being fulfilled, but it's not really aligning, or vice versa. And then you have to go down to phase 3, which is the behavior. Observe what visitors are doing on the website via analytics. So visitors are doing what we want them to do, or visitors are not doing what they are wanting, what digital marketers wanting them to do. So this would be like bounce rate. Again, we talked about this a little bit more in some of the videos that I've posted unrelated to the chapter. Bounce rate is the exit percentage of how many people are going on your website and clicking off within a few seconds, or like within maybe a minute. The higher the bounce rate, that means your web page is not what the customer is looking for, and it probably isn't optimized, and you need to go through and figure out why. Web analytics can answer questions that impact web and user experience. So which web pages are working well for your purpose they are intended? Which pages are getting low or no traffic? Which areas on a website do the visitors drop or leave? Which web pages have high exit rates or bounce rates? What are some campaigns driving success on the site, and which ones are just costing money and not providing any business value? And then what products or services are selling and which ones are not? These are all important questions to know just in general, not just as a digital marketer, but as a marketer. You can take this a step further. And these questions, if you need to answer them, your boss is probably asking you the same thing. Like, how much is this costing? Is this really effective? Why are we spending this money? You need to know this. Web analytics measures behavioral activities on a website, such as destination, duration on a web page, pages or page views for a session, and then an event. An event is kind of similar to a conversion. It's defined as an action that is triggered. So it could be purchasing, signing up for something like an email list, downloading a page. That is an event. So analysts can configure web analytic platforms to capture most of any visitor behavior based on activity on a website. Typically, there will be a destination-based, duration-based, a ratio such as page views per session, or a specific conversion event. There are many different types of key performance indicators used in different industries. So, for example, these are not like the end-all be-all, but these are some examples, which is why we have this beautiful little asterisk. So in retail analytics may be looking at product view, checkout, or purchase. Media might be looking at subscription, contest sign up, page view, video views. Seems pretty important, especially when I think about YouTube. Finance would be application submission, how many times you log in, self-service tools and usage. Travel, booking or purchasing a package, internal campaigns, so clicking through, search and price itinerary. Telecommunications, this industry would probably be looking at purchase, leads, self-service tools and usage. High-tech industries would be a white paper download. If you were not familiar with a white paper, it's very similar to a PowerPoint, but it's like you combined a essay paper into a PowerPoint. You don't follow any of the regulations that a normal PowerPoint would. RFP, form completion, support request, and then automotive. This would be lead submission, requesting a quote, or brochure download. If you're thinking of automotive, you're probably not performing this online. Web analytics' most powerful tool on the web is segmentation. Behavioral segments are created from select default and calculated metrics that are applied to a subset of activities on a website. That sounds very crazy. Really, web analytics can narrow down where your consumers are coming from. How can you segment them? Is there an income level you can segment, or is it through an area? How about age? What type of device are they using? You can also see this on Ezra zip code lookup. You can base segments on typing in their zip code and finding out this is the average of how much money they make, what kind of job that they have. So you can also segment consumers based on the analytics that other websites offer. Nielsen's Prism and Segments, another good website, very similar to the Ezra zip coding. Web analytics behavior segments track a wide variety of website activities that are generated by visitors. So some of the dimensions and types of segmentations would be demographics. How many times are they visiting? What visiting patterns? Are they abandoning a certain web page? The persona or type of user. Interest level to the company. What industry are they in? What about the time of day that they access the website or a web page? That's very important. The device or platform that they are coming in from. Content viewed. What are they looking at? The traffic source. How are they getting there? Changing activities and conversion data. Web analytics tracks visitor location, usually on the city level, especially when you're looking at Google Analytics. This includes where visitors are coming from, what devices are using, the browser, connection, time of day, time of week, on and on and on. Segments are comprised of any kind of data, which is stated above, or a combination of them. You can actually cross-segment them and look and compare, what demographics compared to the industry. It's pretty interesting what you end up finding out about your individuals that shop, or just look on your website. Without behavioral segmentation, web analytics would almost be useless to marketers. So your author said segments divide people into interestingly differentiated groups. Every business has a segment, and for every business, there are potentially infinite and unique. There is no single right segmentation, but segmentation is always useful. I have studied a digital marketing property that can't and shouldn't be segmented. So this is really an interesting slide to think about. Segmentations, you can be in several different segments just as a person yourself. You know that. You can think about everything you do, want, how much money you spend, what websites you go to, and they're probably all different. So you probably can fall into different segmentations based on the organization.